آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره من الله والبعث بعد الموت لا إله إلا الله.
And so he said, I did not come, I'm going to misquote it.
I did not come for
to bring peace,
yes.
but a sword. And then it's clear what he means by the very next sentences. He divides family. They're not stabbing each other with a sword.
No, but the fact is, he did not come to bring peace.
That's it. Okay.
You see what I mean?
But
now imagine this: you're the Prince of Peace.
But now wait.
And then you say, "I have come to bring peace."
So you want to make it either or?
No, it's not either or. Jesus said that His coming will not bring peace; will bring division.
That's right.
Not peace.
But that's right.
Based on the very.
But as He fulfilled all, you call Him the Messiah.
Yeah, he's called the Messiah. The Messiah doesn't mean someone.
So what is the Messiah? There are many prophecies about the Messiah, and Jesus has fulfilled. Jesus has fulfilled many of them, but not all of them.
Okay. You know what? Jesus.
History is not finished. He's coming back. Jesus will return.
When he comes back, what's he going to do?
Right, guys, I think we have more than sidetracked now. Let's get back to Melchizedek. We have more than sidetracked.
All right. So in other words,
the point was
in the Christian understanding, Jesus will bring peace. So it's both and.
Will bring, but not brought yet.
That's right. That's right. History is not finished.
Actually, I do not have a problem if he brings peace in the future.
Yeah.
Because that is something as Muslims we also believe. That when he comes, he'll bring peace. But the point is, when he was there in his first coming, he did not bring peace. That is the point I'm trying to drive here. Yes? So someone who's a Prince of Peace explicitly says, I've not come to bring peace. Now, let's get back to Melchizedek, because over here in Hebrews 7:3 is the answer of someone who is better than Jesus in the sense that he has no beginning of days, no end of time, no genealogy, no mother, no father, and he is in the likeness of the Son of God and not the Son of God. You want to read verse 3?
Yeah. So, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, he abides a priest perpetually.
Absolutely. So made like the Son of God. You know, when you're made like the Son of God, you are not the Son of God.
Not the
you
Son
are
of God.
made like Him. So just like you might resemble your father, but you are not your father. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is the understanding, and that's the reason Bob the Builder actually, he went and studied. He always claims that I don't study much, I don't read much, but he had to go and study to find out this truth. That Melchizedek here is not Jesus Christ, and in fact he has his attributes like Almighty God. Yes. So the question arises, why do the Christians do not worship Melchizedek as the fourth Trinity plus? You know what I mean? Plus one. Yeah. Here.
Is it more deserving to be worshipped though?
Well, he has got more. I think his attributes here are much better than Jesus, because Jesus had one mother, two genealogies. Melchizedek here has no mother, no father, no genealogy, has no beginning of days, no end of time. And by the way, you know, for someone to be eternal, yes, the fact that he died for 3 days and 3 nights, that breaks that chain of eternity. Because if you're eternal, you do not die for a microsecond, let alone 3 days and 3 nights.
Yes.
The fact that Jesus died for 3 days and 3 nights and went to Hades and not paradise, yes, shows us that he is not even eternal. He doesn't, the Alpha and Omega doesn't even represent him correctly based on revelations which you read. So how is he God? If he died by his own creation, if he's not eternal, if he himself says, I by myself can do nothing, as I hear, I obey. Yes, the gospel or the teaching, what I teach is not of my own, but is of the one who sent me. I by my will can do nothing. You see, all this proves it. And another thing, in Mark 13:32, when he says, he doesn't know the hour. No one knows the hour. Not the angels in heaven, not the Son, except
what
the
does he
Father in
say in
heaven.
Acts 1? By the way, this is what we in America call a gish gallop. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, we call it, what is it, machine gun tactic or something like that?
Yeah, drive-by shooting.
Well, what are those things there?
Unloads about 90 objections, and then what am I supposed to do? What does Jesus do when his disciples ask him Just a second.
You tell me. That's fine.
Well,
make the point.
you said Jesus didn't know the day or the hour.
Yeah, he
What
did.
does he say in Acts 1 when asked the same question?
Let's read. I'm not familiar with that. Maybe you can teach me something new.
I like it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. We learn something new every day.
Yeah.
By the way, we have been talking for like, what, nearly 3 hours now?
3 hours. Oh my God. You broke the record. This is no machine. This is no machine gun tactics.
Oh, no. It wasn't machine gun tactic.
Well, we've gone over most of them.
Until now, it was very, alhamdulillah, 1 point at a time.
I've got only one question when you finish. If you like to answer it, that's all.
Thanks. Okay, let me read verse 1 just to set this.
Sorry, which verse
if
is
you
it
could-
again?
It's going to answer about. You said no one knows but the Father alone. Okay, but
About the hour, yeah?
let me set a little context. Just because many of you are Muslim, right? Maybe you don't know this. I don't know.
Oh, believe me, I do.
So you know about the 4 Gospels. You know that
I know about the Old Testament, the New Four
that
Gospels.
Luke, in the very beginning, talks about how he consulted with a lot of eyewitnesses. Okay, now so Acts is also written by Luke, and this first verse will kind of establish that. The first account I composed, Theophilus, and that was also in the Gospel of Luke, about all that Jesus began to do and teach until the day he was taken up, after he had. Okay, so that's just setting the context, just to say that if you didn't know, Luke, I'm sorry,
We've just been bamboozled.
This is machine tactics.
it's called boys being boys.
Yes.
Okay, so Acts is basically Luke part 2. Okay, I'm jumping to verse 6. This is Acts 1, verse 6. And so when they had come together, they were asking him, this is just before Jesus ascended. The disciples were asking him, Jesus, they were asking him, Lord, is it at this time that you are restoring the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, it is not for you to know the times or the epochs which the Father has fixed by his own authority. Did Jesus know or not?
He didn't say he did,
He didn't say, he didn't answer the question.
No.
but that doesn't mean he knows.
That also doesn't mean he doesn't know.
No, he said the Father fixed it.
That's right. But he doesn't say he doesn't know.
Actually, he does in Mark 13:32, unless he was lying.
Well, but now there's, okay, when we
In
talk
Mark
about,
13:32, he explicitly says he doesn't know.
yeah. So when
Was he telling a lie?
I'm going to give you a choice.
Yes.
When we talk about Christianity, would you like to talk about straw man Christianity or what Christians really believe?
No.
I would like to discuss what the
book
Bible says.
Okay.
Exactly.
But
You can tell me anything you want.
so Christians believe the Bible,
Yes.
but we also, like Muslims, try to make sense of our scriptures, try to understand it.
You mean you
So-
interpret it?
Well, and you interpret it.
No, we don't.
We don't. I've already clarified to you that we don't
Yes.
self-interpret. we
You
are scholars,
told me about
and we
the
got
scholars
the
and the hadiths, which
Yes,
were
of course.
written how many years later? 200 years later.
No,
The
wait,
earliest
wait,
hadith-
wait.
yeah.
Wait.
Early, yeah.
You need to realize that
Yeah.
Islam, both the Quran and the Hadith,
Were in
were
the hands of
memorized
people.
orally and then written down later on. It doesn't mean,
No, we're talking about the hadith.
Yes,
now.
I'm talking about the Hadith as well. The Hadith were memorized.
So
Yes,
the hadiths-
during the time of Muhammad, they were memorized.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is what you
And
need
so
to
they were
understand.
they were written down when?
Okay, so Bukhari came 200 years
200 years
after.
later. Okay,
But
that's
wait a
what I
minute,
wanted to
wait a
know.
minute. Do you know how we linked that to Muhammad? By the chain of narration. So
Yeah.
every single person who memorized it would tell the other person his student, who would also memorize it, and he would then tell his student. So how we actually keep
And-
track? Wait, Charles, it's very important you listen to this. You see this tradition of keeping the chain of narration, and also we got something called the ilm al-rijal, which is every single person within that chain, we know about him. For example, if I asked you, what was the last name of Luke?
Last name of
What was the second name of Luke? You don't know. So do you know his first name was actually Luke?
with a pretty high degree of confidence.
Yeah, so 2,000 years ago, there was actually Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John.
Yeah.
2,000 years ago in
Yeah.
Arabia.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to believe that, that's fine.
Well,
Then what-
wait a minute. That's a cheap shot.
No, it's not a cheap
No,
shot.
you tell me that Muslims memorize the Quran.
Yes.
But Christians couldn't remember the name Luke. Christians couldn't remember. So
I'll ask you one thing.
Matthew wrote the gospel
Yes.
and handed it off, and everybody started copying it, but nobody could remember his name.
Charles, let's be fair.
That's incredible.
Charles.
Literally not credible.
Charles, we have been very civil so far. Let's maintain the
No,
civil.
but I'm just saying that's not credible.
No, I'll tell you-
Muslims could
okay, let
remember
me
the
ask you
Quran,
this.
and
Charles,
Christians
let
couldn't
me ask you a
remember
simple
single
question.
name. That's not credible.
You in your lifetime know many Christians, right?
I know all kinds of
Okay.
people.
Do you know personally any Christian who has memorized the New Testament?
No.
Good. Ask me the same question about the Quran.
Okay.
Yes. Wait.
He can
I know people. I know children, not people. I know children as young as 7 and 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know them personally. They have revised the Quran from cover to cover.
Okay.
So you see, we have this
Okay.
tradition alive to this day.
Right.
Him now, like, you say a surah and he says surah. They're not going to say surah.
No, I
think
have
they know
I have
generally
nothing,
this-
but I think he's driving home my point.
Which is what?
So people can memorize the entire Quran.
Yes.
Yes. And
But you asked me to believe that the Christians who were handed copies of Matthew
Yeah.
couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, but hold on. Let me
that's
tell
not
you.
my point.
Let me.
My point.
hold on.
My
I know it's not your point. It's my point.
Charles.
It's not credible.
I think you're missing the point. The point I'm making is this. First and foremost, I don't know if you're aware that you can ask James Hyde himself. Yes, the Gospels in whose names these Gospels are Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John.
Yeah.
Yes, did they write these Gospels themselves?
I think so.
No. Ask you if you ask the scholars.
No.
Trust
no,
me.
No. Okay.
Let me finish the point.
Liberal scholars, no. Conservative scholars,
James White a
yes.
liberal scholar?
No, James White says Matthew wrote Matthew. Yes, he will. He'll say that.
But, you know, people like who are actually the scholars of the New Testament. Yes, Bar Ehrman. He will tell you that these books were written in their names. Yes, not that they were written by them. For example, you brought up Luke. You know, Luke in the very beginning. Yes, did he say he was someone who was inspired to write this by God, or did he say that I'm writing this, my dear Theophilus? Yes, because other people are writing this. It is in fashion to write. Hence, I'm writing this. He did not say I was
He did not say.
inspired.
Now listen.
Okay, read Luke 1:1.
Hashim,
I paraphrased,
you've been doing so well so far.
I paraphrased.
This is not passed as a paraphrase. He didn't say because it's fashionable.
No, I said I
No, he
paraphrased
said
because other people are writing, so I'm writing.
Okay, but let's because it's
To me, that is
scripture.
like fashion, isn't it? Like other people are wearing this jacket, so you start wearing this. It's called
No,
fashion.
he did not say.
Okay, let's
so.
read Luke 1.
It
Listen.
means
But the point I was making is that he did not say I'm inspired by God.